What's going on, everybody? And it's been a little bit, but we have a little bit of a Saw update finally. So while at Sundance, James Wan was doing an interview with Letterboxd where he was kind of talking about the upcoming Saw film that he's working on, kind of gave a little bit more hints and clues about the tone that he's going for. And we're going to take a look at this article from Bloody Disgusting that kind of sums up what James Wan was talking about. And again, it's not much to go off of. We still don't know a whole lot of new information or when it's coming out or anything like that, but he is kind of talking about like the tone that he's going for here and what we can expect on that front of things. So let's go on over to Bloody Disgusting and see what James Wan had to say. So James says, for me to finally come back to it, I feel I have probably the freshest outlook. I feel I can come back to it with a new perspective while knowing that this next movie I want to hark back to the spirit of the first movie. One of the things I really want to do with this next Saw is make it scary again. I want to make a scary Saw. Not just gory, but psychologically scarring. Like what Lee and I did in the first movie. Now this is interesting because, I've done a couple videos talking about this, but when Saw went over to Blumhouse and we found out that James Wan was back involved, we also heard that Leigh Whannell was going to be involved. I heard from a couple reliable sources that I absolutely trust that Lee was probably not going to be involved. So I was like, okay. And then I think Jason Blum had mentioned Lee at some point. So it was very like, is Lee involved? Is he not? So this next line here is pretty interesting and does seem to confirm one way or the other if Leigh Whannell is involved in this next Saw movie. James goes on to say, Lee and I both want to recapture the spirit of that first film and revisit Jigsaw's philosophy, which is that he goes after people who don't appreciate their lives. If you are a scumbag but you appreciate your life, he doesn't see you as someone who's wasting your life. So I want to go back to what we touched on in the first movie with regard to that. At the same time, I want to honor what people have come to love about the franchise, while trying to do something fresh and new that we haven't seen before. And then to finish things up here, James Wan says, this next movie would be the 11th installment, and there have been lots of films in this world. We need to do something different in order to reach a new generation that didn't grow up with it. And that's completely fair. Look, I know we all want Saw 11 as like the follow-up to Saw X. We want to continue on with John, Amanda Hoffman, Cecilia. Doesn't look like we're gonna get that. I think we've already kind of figured that out by now, but we still don't know what they're doing with it. We know that James is pretty much like in control of the Saw franchise right now. We do know, thanks to James and Jason Blum had mentioned it before, but this seems to reiterate that Leigh Whannell is in fact involved in this project to some capacity. Is he writing? Is he directing? We don't know. Is James directing? We don't know. But we do know that James is kind of in charge of everything Saw right now. And of course, it's no surprise that James wants to kind of go back to the stuff that they did in the first movie a little bit, be more psychological, more like a puzzle, more like maybe making the audience feel like a part of the game as opposed to just watching the game, because there's something really special about that first Saw movie. Because the film starts and you're waking up with Adam and Dr. Gordon in the bathroom. You don't know where you are, what's going on, who's doing this to you. These are all questions that you need answers for too. And so throughout the movie, you are also playing the game. You are helping them look for clues and you are trying to figure things out and stuff like that. And then the movie ends and you are locked in the bathroom with Adam. It makes the audience part of the experience, and I think that's what makes the first Saw really special, whereas the sequels didn't really have that effect, at least in my opinion. They're great movies, they're fun movies. I love watching the Saw films, but the first one's really the only one that's kind of had that effect. So I do wonder if we're going to kind of have that going on with this next one as well. So yeah, the fact that James still wants to capture the spirit of the original movie, I'm completely fine with. And then talking about like the next generation of Saw fans, the ones who didn't grow up with the original franchise, it makes sense for them to do something new and fresh for them. I just don't know what that new and fresh thing is going to be. And I'm kind of curious about that because, well, what can you do at this point? Yeah, this is the 11th installment. We've had copycats, we've had apprentices, we've had movies where Jigsaw's alive, we've had movies where Jigsaw's dead. So it's like, well, what are we going to do in that regard? I'm really curious about that. But again, capturing the spirit of the original film, offering something new. I'm really interested to see what James and Lee are cooking up for us. And we don't have 100% confirmation at this time, but I'm pretty sure that Tobin Bell is going to be back. But again, from what I understand, Tobin Bell was probably the only one who is coming back in terms of the cast. And, you know, that sucks. I'm going to miss Amanda and Hoffman. And, you know, I really wanted to see Cecilia again. But yeah, still don't know what they're doing or what direction they're going in. But James's comments here does get me pretty excited. I'm not going to lie. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do here. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you guys want more Saw content, be sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff like that. So until next time, guys.
Game over.